Hi, welcome to another episode of Off the Shelf with Dr. Hanks. That's me. Today we're going to talk about From Strength to Strength by Arthur C. Brooks, Finding Success, Happiness, and Deep Purpose in the Second Half of Life. And it was published in 2022. So it's fairly new, actually. So what he talks about is the importance of reframing decline. We all, physically, as we get older, our strengths tend to decline. Our physical abilities, mental abilities, a lot of that declines over time. And what he talks about is all of the things that were considered strengths up until this point. What we have to do is reframe our thoughts about the fact that we decline with age and transition into a new strength and use everything that we've learned up until this point in a new way. And what he talks about is how we reframe this. There's a study that he looked at actually done in 1971 that talks about our abilities, and they recognized this decline. But they categorized it like this. When a person is in their early 20s and 30s, they will peak somewhere in their mid to late 30s, possibly 40s, and then start their decline. And what they call the knowledge and smarts that they have is fluid. They call it fluid intelligence, and it's like raw smarts. They know that 2 + 2 = 4, and that's quick for them to learn. But they don't necessarily have any experience or practical knowledge for how to actually use that into anything. Crystallized intelligence is what he calls what people have from their 50s and on. And the crystallized intelligence is what he calls wisdom, because not only do you have the raw knowledge or the raw smarts of the younger person, but now you have the context and the wisdom and the experience to know what it means, how to apply it. You're able to give it context to solve problems, and it has more meaning. It's not just a raw fact. It is something that you can apply to your life and help other people apply to their life. So that is that old analogy that people use a lot is, raw smarts. The younger fluid intelligence is knowing that a tomato is not a fruit. Crystallized knowledge and wisdom is knowing that the tomato does not go in fruit salad. So you have the context, the categorization of tomato is the raw smarts, raw intelligence, but knowing how to use it in recipes and when it's appropriate and when it's not, that is the wisdom that he's referring to. Now, from probably the best example I can think of are professional athletes. If we were going to make a comparison, the professional athletes know that as they get older, they are not going to be able to play beyond their 30s or 40s. I think some of these players that are in their 30s, that's just unheard of. And it's because physically we decline and they can't keep up with the new players that are coming onto the field. So the most successful players, what they do once they retire, they take all of their knowledge that they've gained, combine that with their experience on the field, and maybe they become sportscasters or analysts or coaches, or they can explain what's happening on the field from the perspective of the players. So they add value in a lot of ways that are different from just the people who are out there playing the game. So the point that we decline is not something that we can change or argue with. How we choose to deal with it is our choice. That's just it. It is a choice. What he's suggesting is that you move from strength to strength. You take all of the things that you learned and that you knew and all of the things that made you successful when you were younger, you apply that somehow into a new strength that you can use moving forward. And maybe it is learning to, coach or mentor or create training, create things to teach people, take a different role. We cannot physically always continue doing what we're doing until we retire. And many of us are not ready to retire anytime soon. Some of, like myself, for example, the first 50 years of my life, it was just a whole bunch of experience, practice, mistakes, some successes, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do until, most recently, the last few years. So how you choose to transition is completely up to you. When you choose to transition is completely up to you. The important thing is that we change our frame of reference, and we do not view decline as a bad thing. We view decline as an opportunity to move into a different direction or to take everything we've learned and package it in a different way so that we can add value to life by putting to good use all of the experience and practice and failures, mistakes, everything we've learned. We have the opportunity to repackage that into something more successful as we get older. So I want to leave you with this analogy he said. To think of it like your mental abilities and knowledge as like a library. And when you were younger, maybe your mental librarian could zip through. You had fewer books on the shelf, fewer reference materials, and she could zip through and memorize where everything was and find it quickly because she had fewer things to go through. She was moving a little bit faster physically, and zip, 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 your mind could just go through this. Well, now that you're older, your mental librarian is moving a little bit slower, and that's okay. But instead of focusing on that, why don't you focus on also the fact that you now have a vast selection of books to choose from. You have a vast selection of experiences and mistakes and successes and all of these volumes of experience on your shelves. And yeah, she may be moving a little bit slower, but she's got a whole lot more material to go through too. And it may take a little bit longer to find exactly what you need in the moment, or at the time you want to have it, but it's still there, and it might just take a little bit longer to get. Focus on that. Focus on how your mental experiences and mistakes, failures, feelings, emotions, all of the experience you have, you've filled a vast number of shelves, and now you have the opportunity to add all of the context to the knowledge that you may have had when you were younger, but now you know that there are so many different ways that you can apply it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that was a great way to reframe aging and moving into new transitions and new purpose in life as we get older. It doesn't mean that we have to be done, because many of us are not. You don't have to be done. You just have to be different. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week.